Howdy, friends. We're disconnected. Why are we disconnected? Okay, looks like that's okay. So I've had a lot of trouble finding people's personal experiences on Andy Cutler chelation on YouTube before. I did find one person's, and that was helpful. And so I thought I would start to journal that here. I'm on my first round of that. The Cutler chelation method is extremely similar in almost all ways to the method that a doctor was planning on, or told me that we were going to do together, and then completely ghosted me and like disappeared with my money. But um, after a year of that, and not really being sure if I was going to be able to chelate at all, um, the most appealing thing to me about the way that she had presented it was that you kind of self titrate, and that you start out very, very small, and that you're monitoring your kidney function and all of your organ functions, and you're really supporting everything as you're doing that, which is really, really important, since most chelators don't know the difference between good metals and bad metals in the body. Many minerals are metals, as you know, and so it starts to pull all of that stuff out. So, talk about throwing a baby out with the bathwater. It's just a really dangerous process, and you just can't go around, doing it blind. So, it is exhausting for me to even think about her, because she was an abusive person. And so I'm going to try to shift gears right now. My brain is shutting down just having her kind of in my in my mental mind's eye. But what I was so intrigued by, after thinking, okay, well, I guess I just don't get to chelate, since she's the only safe person to do that with, and she has disappeared. When I found the Facebook group for the Andy Cutler chelation protocol, I studied from that. And it was so similar. And when I went back to my notes that she had given me, I thought, oh, this is very, very, very similar. The biggest differences are that in the group, people talk about, you tend to, that the Cutler protocol is about a 64-hour protocol straight through every few hours, and so it's the better part of 3 days. And with that, and bear with me because my thoughts have trouble combining sequentially here, but that's the brain fog issue. But they kind of go on round. When you're in round or you're on round, you're within that 64-hour period where you're actively taking the medication, and then you go off round. And some people go back on round pretty quickly. The main difference between the Cutler protocol that I see in the Facebook group, which is very rigorous and well managed and well admined for people who want to learn there. The main difference is that my ex doctor, and the way that she taught me that she does it, is you go on that for 3 days, and then the rest of the month you're off round. You're resting. You're taking a ton of supplements. You're doing a bunch of green juice. You can't do green juice during a round, mind you, because it's very mineral heavy, and it will get, you won't get the benefit of it, and it may get all chelated out anyway, and it's just not safe to consider that you've got that support. You just don't have that support during that time. So don't bother doing that, is the idea. But she has people going on for that 3 days, and then spending the rest of the month really, doing heavy lifting in terms of good eating, clean eating, and supplementation. However, something that the Cutler protocol adds that my ex-doctor did not mention to me, and partly she was a very poor communicator, and so would not, she held information very close to the vest. So maybe when we got like the day before, she would have, told me, hey, you need to do these 4 things too. That would be like her to do. But the Cutler protocol is very straightforward beginning to end. It's very transparent. And so they have you doing magnesium, zinc. I have my vitamin C in a scoopable since I take a lot of it. And then vitamin E, which I'm just getting to. I'm still looking for, this is a shitty brand just from the grocery store because I can't seem to get a straight answer from a good producer, good supplement producer on like how to get a good vitamin E. I see a lot of non-GMO, but I can't find any organic at all. So still working on that, but better to start than not start, I suppose, most of the time. So it has people taking, I think, like 400 milligrams of magnesium. Mine are not set up that way. Mine are like in 300 milligram doses. So I take 2 of them. And I take this anyway. So, and you know, if my body wants more or is craving chocolate, there's a good chance that it's craving the magnesium. And so I'll take more. The zinc complex, it recommends that that we take it 50 milligrams all at once, usually in the evening, usually with a fatty meal. This is not quite 50 grams, 50 milligrams, not 50 grams. But I also know from all my blood testing that my copper is very much in line. My copper is not high. And this is a big thing that you do if the copper is high. So since I know for sure that mine's not, I'm not super concerned about it. And because I take multivitamins most days in pretty high doses, not every day, but most days it has zinc in it too. So, so that's why I do it like that. The vitamin C, I try to do in tablespoon amount, and that for me is just a little bit over 2 grams. If I put it into about 12 ounces of water, it's pretty tart, but I have some other supplements I put in with it, and they go well together. Doing that 2 to 4 times a day is what works well for me. But the recommendation on the Cutler way of doing it is 1 gram, kind of 4 times a day. But more is okay. And because vitamin C is a water soluble vitamin, there's pretty low chance that you're gonna overdo that. And there are increasing numbers of studies that use very high doses of vitamin C for other kinds of illness diminishment or eradication. So since I have a lot of illnesses, I don't have any problem doing that. So that's so I'm just setting the table for you on that. So the first round that I am in the middle of right now, I'm about a day into my first round of ALA, which is alpha lipoic acid. It is definitely just for chelating. There's no other chelation going on in my life. There's no cilantro or chlorella or anything else that would mobilize but not be able to properly move out any mercury. But I'm starting with ALA. I'll also do rounds of DMSA and DMPS later on because that will need to be included to get rid of lead. But for right now, mercury is my first order of business. And I'm about a day in. I have been in bed for most of the day, but I don't really feel different. I took a very, very, very low dose, really the lowest dose that you can buy, which is 1/4 milligram. They, of course, have a lot of filler in them because 1/4 milligram you couldn't really hold 1/4 milligram. But it looks like this. And I'm not noticing any difference. I think I noticed just a real brief difference when I first started it last night. I take it every 3 hours per the protocol. I was nervous. I've been nervous for a few months about starting it as I realized that I wanted to do it. But it takes about a month for the supplements to even arrive because they come from, they got to get on a boat and go through customs and stuff. So so I thought I know from watching people struggle in detoxes, both previous to this research and guiding people through detoxes in the past, that if you detox too fast in any situation in any way, you can really shut the body down and toxify the body, and the body can't move it out, but the body will get sicker. And so I opted to just stair step up. It's a little more expensive way to do it because I could have gotten something a lot stronger than this for the exact same price. Um, but there, within the protocol, there is an idea of starting with like a milligram if you're quite sick. And my body is very sensitive to anything synthetic, anything made in a lab, and this is. And so I opted for that quarter because I can always, if I want to take 1 milligram, I can always take 4 of these, right? It's a more expensive way to do it, but it's less expensive than dying or going into toxic shock. So that's what I'm doing. But I will say I have been in bed all day. Um, I found it pleasant. I found it nice. I did finally take a nap. I'm still learning how to just go ahead and go to sleep. I wasn't taking a nap because I was like, oh, well, I'll have to wake up and take the pill anyway in 2 or 3 hours. But you kind of just get used to it, and you realize that if you're this sick, you're really not sleeping a whole 3 hours at a time anyway, and so it's really not that big a deal to be asked to like take a pill in the middle of whatever sleep you're trying to do. Our sleep is just such trash anyway. So I started at 9 p.m. last night, and I hadn't quite gotten my head around, okay, you can go to sleep now, because I kept thinking, oh, but I got to take the pill in 3 hours again. So after the 12 o'clock pill at midnight, I did go to bed. I Like I said, I think initially I felt just a little bit, but not very much at all. Nothing super unpleasant. I did have one moment of like a twitch that was quite strong. It was just like one time. And so that has not continued in this, we're kind of approaching the end of the first day, even to the point where I'm considering how to go ahead and up the dose. Now, you're not really supposed to, if you're inside of that 64 hours of that kind of 3-day period where you're taking it, you're not really supposed to interrupt that flow. And so, but it's also true that basically if you miss taking it every 3 hours pretty exactly, you have to start all over again. So what I may do is just back off of it, and not take, the full 3 days, and then go back on it at a 50 milligram amount. Now, that said, I'm noticing that for my energy and for the illnesses that I have, I need, I can basically handle 1 day of like general businessing, like following up with doctors, dealing with email and the nonsense of people not being adults and so forth. And I really don't have more bandwidth than that. I really have like 1 day's worth of energy to do that right now. And so, since Monday tends to be that day, I don't know that I want to up the dose a lot right now. I also just did see that one video that I mentioned on YouTube that was helpful, that the person had started at 1 milligram and did certainly have some effects, which is good. Like, you're supposed to have effects. That means that it's doing something. And she wasn't taking ALA. She was taking one of the others. But still, it certainly affirmed that, nothing wrong with starting slow. So that's where we're at. I would say the main effect that I've noticed that would be unusual is that I didn't have. I could tell that I could have gotten up this morning and like done stuff. And usually first thing in the morning is the only time that I've got energy these days. But I wasn't antsy going back to bed. I could tell I was like, you know what? I think I want to stay in bed and watch movies, maybe do a puzzle, and just, lay real low this morning and rest. And usually I'm not able to do that. Usually I would get antsy, and maybe a little agitated if I tried to do that. I didn't today. So I would say that's the main impact for right now. So I will keep you up on on the next bits.